Hey guys, my name is Mike Sherwood and this is my new video blog. And today I'm going to be talking about some tips on how to legally interview tenants. So, interviewing tenants and selecting the right tenants is probably one of the most important things they can do when you're investing or you're managing for other investors. So, the first thing I would say to do is find a local expert that employs the strategy that you're interested in. Just for example, um, if you want to focus on low-income housing or subsidized housing, find somebody who successfully implemented that strategy and is successful at it. Take them out for coffee, ask them some questions, and make sure to pay for the coffee because they're the ones that are providing value. They're the ones that are there helping you. So make sure that you take advantage of those kind of situations. I would encourage you to find local networking events that you can meet these people at. Number two, I would say, is to find a good attorney that understands the local laws in your state and in a given area, especially with leniency of different judges in different areas. So let's say you may be renting in the city. Well, in the city, there's a different jurisdiction, there's a different judge, and they're less lenient, or they're more lenient, or there's a lot of things that go into that. You really need to get the lay of the land and find somebody who understands that and give you basically the inside track and give you an understanding for that. Not only that, they can also help you with what questions you can legally ask a tenant or potential tenant when you're interviewing them. For example, in New York State, you can't ask somebody how many children they have. You can ask them how many family members do they have. Or for example, or another example, you can't ask them how old they are. You can ask them for a copy of their driver's license, but you can't ask the age. So you just have to be careful with all this stuff. And it's the same thing with when you're dealing with rejecting a tenant. You have to play on an even field as far as qualifying all those tenants. And if you reject somebody, you have to give them an idea why. And it has to be, something that's very specific, saying, we found somebody who's financially more qualified. So meaning you found somebody that made more money that qualified for the apartment. That's something where you got to kind of be careful because sometimes you can get into trouble with that. You can't discriminate. You gotta find something for your criteria that will eliminate them. So that's the other thing is I think number three, it's very, very important to have set criteria that you follow every time and you follow it to the T on how you do it. So for example, you say, hey, I want somebody who has 1.5 times what the rent is. And that would be a standard part of your process that you would have everybody go through. And if they didn't meet it, you would just not accept them for as an applicant. Number four, one of the other things that I think that is important is having a rigorous screening background process. So when you're talking to these tenants or potential tenants, I always ask them, hey, when I pull your credit, am I going to find anything? Or, hey, when I do your background check, am I going to find anything? The reason why I do this is because I'm giving them a chance to come clean. We have rented to people that have had issues in the past with their credit. They got divorced or something happened, family situation. And as long as they're willing to come clean about it and everything else checks out, references and everything like that, payment history is all good, I have no problems with that. I would rather be part of the solution and help them get back on their feet and, make it so it's easier for them and not penalize them as long as they are making a good effort towards integrating and repairing their credit or repairing the situation and moving forward. It happens. Everybody has problems. It happens. Along with that, you need to make sure to gather as much information as possible. We have a proprietary system where we gather information about all occupants. I want all occupants that are over the age of 18 to have a background check and credit check. And the reason why is because one may have good credit, the other may not. One may have criminal history, the other may not. So it's very important to be very rigorous about that and just follow your process. Don't take shortcuts because when you take shortcuts, that's when you get burned. So it's very important to follow your process to the T. And another thing I think is really, really important is when you're talking about references, don't go for personal references. Go, hey, I want somebody from your work. I want a boss, or I want somebody that's going to write good things about you, or is going to tell me what they actually believe. too many times it's just a friend, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Jimmy's a good guy. Jimmy's a good guy," and then you get them in there, and they're a terrible guy. So that's why I think it's really important to do that. The other thing is you can call previous landlords, but this is where it kind of gets in a gray area because a landlord technically doesn't have to say anything. They can just say, "Hey, I rented the place to this person." That's it. They don't have to say anything else. And in many cases, they won't because they're afraid that if a tenant doesn't get the apartment because of them, that basically they can try to come back and sue them. You'd be surprised. I hear about it every day. So that's one of the things that I've seen other landlords struggle with. So I think it's important. So of course consult an attorney about that. So those are some of the tips that I have pertaining to dealing with interviewing potential tenants legally and trying to prevent yourself from getting into trouble. So if you have any questions on some additional items, or if you have any suggestions for improvements, or if you have any topics that you'd like to see me discuss pertaining to real estate, property management, running a business, leave me some feedback in the comments. Thanks.